that's not why. Why is that frozen? Why is that frozen? Come on. Refresh. No? No dice there? Well, that's a bummer. Hey everybody, how are we doing tonight? I'm gonna wait for the stream to populate a bit here before we kick it off for real. Let's see. What can I do to solve that? Start. Okay. What's the hold up? How are you doing? Good to see you, Mr. Foxy. K just draws. Good to see you as well. Glad to see you're joining us tonight. Can't see anything. You should be able to see anything. Everything is showing up green. I hope that everyone is able to see my screen before we get started here. The one thing that I know people can't see right now is the webcam. I don't know why just yet. We're trying to figure that out right now. Yes, I see that. I'm trying to resolve that right now. Hey, there we go. Easy enough of a fix. Just had to reboot my camera. All right. Well, hey, let's get started, guys. I'm going to adjust this real quick. Why am I not in frame? There we go. Awesome. Okay, let's get started with tonight's stream, shall we? So, I said in my post yesterday that we were going to do an SSTO for our stream tonight as kind of a payback for not being able to stream this weekend. I know a lot of people have actually been requesting me to do an SSTO, and I've kind of been putting it off. It is not my favorite thing to do, and not because I don't like them, but they're just very difficult to pull off right. And you know, I've found more, maybe not more enjoyable, but certainly more like rewarding mission types to do. And so I have definitely been putting this off, but I wanted to do it tonight. So we are going to get started on it. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm working on the wings right now. I've got the basic frame for what we're going to be working with. We've got a pretty big open expander, or not open expander, combustion tap-off cycle engine that is using a liquid oxygen and methanol fuel. And we have a ton of delta V on this thing and enough thrust to weight ratio to vertically lift off, which that's the goal. This will actually sit on the pad and lift off vertically and then glide back through the atmosphere. So what am I trying to do right now? Well, I want to make sure that my aerodynamics are squared away, because honestly, aerodynamics are probably one of the most difficult parts about SSTOs. It's just very tricky because you've got to get a craft that is able to work in multiple different situations. You know, it has to be able to work fully fueled and pretty much completely empty of fuel. And so when you change the weight of a craft, you change the center of mass and the center of gravity of it a lot as well. And part of changing the center of mass and the center of gravity is you change the aerodynamic characteristics. You change how it handles, you change how it flies. And so it's difficult to get something that behaves properly one way, and then also when you radically change its characteristics, behaves properly that way as well. So what we're doing here is I'm trying to make sure that I've got enough wing surfaces that even when I am totally out of fuel, I've still got a good position for my center of lift and my center of mass. So, you know, when it's fully fueled like this, the center of mass is sitting nice and far up here because this whole nose cone section is totally full of fuel, which is a good thing. But then when we are totally empty, and this is all these tanks are empty and our payload is gone, the biggest weight on our craft is going to be the rocket engine, which sits at the absolute back of the craft, which means, you know, if the back of your craft is the heaviest part of your craft, it's really bad for aerodynamics. So we need to make sure that our wings are equally as beefy and also as far back as possible, so that when we are totally empty of fuel, we still have a stable flight. And so that's what I'm working on right now. We're going to do basically a biplane style, honestly. It's we're going to do an upper and lower wing that are going to be sandwiched together like this. I'm trying to get that's like 1 degree too many. Let's do 3 degrees. Give it 1 click there and 1 click there. That is really close. So what I might do is take let's do just regular fuel tank, and we need batteries on the craft, so I might as well make these our batteries. Let's see, battery, there it is. We'll select that and throw those on the wingtips. Nope, not like that. I want it to sit on there the same as the other one. There we go, like that. Okay, so we've got batteries on the wingtips like that. That's not too bad. The other thing is we need to make sure our control surfaces are configured. So I want the bottom ones to be my pitch surfaces. We'll go ahead and set that like that. And then we'll do, these guys will be our roll surfaces. Okay, and then all we got to do is make them symmetrical. So we'll do mirror part symmetry, mirror part symmetry. All right, so those are our wings. Nice and big wings. Looking really good so far. Pretty pleased with that as a jumping off point. Is it going to fly, though? I'm not sure if it'll actually fly or not. First thing I want to test, honestly, first thing that I want to test is getting it off the launch pad. So we're going to put it in our rocket configuration. Move this up out of the floor a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this will be our configuration on the launch pad, ready to go. Let's add some kind of support structure because this is going to fall over. Trying to think what would be a good support structure for this. We could do side interstages that hold it up until it's throttled all the way, like that. Add a fuel tank to it. Make the fuel tank small there, but make it tall in that direction. And then let's color this. How's an orange look? No, that's the high emission orange that I hate. Let's do a silver, like a fuel tower almost. Change up the texture a little bit. Let's go grooves. Yeah, we'll do grooves, and we will make that four-way not transparent. What am I talking about? Four-way reflected, no detachment force needed, or no serious detachment force needed. And then tinker panel. I want to bring the mass scale up, way up on these guys. So these are going to be real heavy pillars that are not going to let the rocket get off the ground right away. Like that. And then let's see, we've got 4 and then 1. I kind of want the Titan engine to go first and then the 4 rockets. Or sorry, the engine's going to ignite first and then our interstages are going to separate. Like that. Okay, so we've got 7,000 meters per second of delta V in this thing right out of the gate. And that is more than enough to get into orbit around Droo. So I think we're ready to go ahead and give this our first test flight. It looks like something from Star Wars. Cage's Draw says, yeah, I definitely think it's going for a sci-fi look for sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, let's change our launch location though. I don't want to launch on the runway. I want to launch on the launch pad. There we go. All right, let's give this guy a try. Here we go. We are on the launch pad. I'm going to go ahead and time warp today, just because I don't like launching at night if I can't help it. We've got our info set up over here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull our throttle all the way up. We've got batteries. We've got everything we should need to light the engines. Engines are good. And those side interstages separated actually perfectly. And she is very stable right now. Going to try rolling it. Keeping it locked in there. Let's see how she banks. Little aggressive on the acceleration. There we go. So far, so good. I'm pretty much Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how this is going so far. We're doing all right in the Delta V department. You start rolling over like that. Also, bring down our throttle a little bit. Ooh, that is flying very stably. We're going to put some gyroscopes on it. That's definitely... I'm already seeing that we're going to need to put some gyroscopes on it for sure. Let's set our orbital reference frame like that. And we are pretty much out of the effective range of our control surfaces. We are basically all on the gimbaling of our engine, so I'm not able to roll the craft anymore. But that's okay because we are stable. And look at this. This is methanol and liquid oxygen, and it's got a very, very green exhaust plume. It's kind of an interesting color for an exhaust plume. Probably not what it would actually look like in real life. I think this is methanol. Hold on. Yeah, liquid oxygen and methanol. Very interesting. We are coming up on our orbital insertion. I'm going to shoot for 200,000 kilometer, or not 200,000 kilometer orbit. Geez, 200 kilometer orbit, 200,000 meters. We should have plenty of fuel to get us there. We are currently at 160 kilometers apoapsis, so looking good in that department. 80, 90, okay. Cut. Oh, cut a little late. 227. Still have 9% of our fuel left, which is 18,000 meters per second. That is honestly plenty to make an orbital insertion. Yep, plenty. So this thing has the power to get into orbit easily. Well over the issue there. That's good. Yeah, so I think this is a really solid base design. Now we're just going to work to improve it. Pedro, welcome to the stream. Yes, I figured out what the terrain glitch was, and I will demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate it for you because it's kind of silly what it was. So let's see. Let's reload so we're back on the ground, and I'll show it to you. This frustrated the hell out of me. I spent a couple hours trying to figure this out, just going through settings between streams, and you know what? It was such a simple little thing to fix. So here's the ground, and it should look fine. Yep, looks fine in the stream. I'm going to change one setting with the game capture, and now it's broken. So for some reason, and this is what's weird too, because this is not on the game side. This is on the stream software side. If I hit allow transparency for the game widget, that is basically there's a piece of software between the game and YouTube that's taking the feed from the game and all these other things that I have going on, putting it into one video and sending it to YouTube. And for some reason, this little setting right here, wild, it just totally turns off the textures for the ground, but nothing else. Which it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that would do that. Super weird. But now that I know what it is, I can avoid making that mistake again. So thank you for asking. How do I make the green smoke? That is a mod. I'm currently running a mod called Stock Engine Overhaul, and I'll give you guys a little glimpse of it. I actually did a mod spotlight on this, I think, a while ago. It adds a bunch of different engine types. So, like this engine right here is a combustion tap-off, and I am running liquid oxygen and methanol through it, which is a new fuel type that it adds in-game. There are a couple others, open expander, dual open expander, dual expander cycles. There's another pressure-fed engine that's a little different. Then you got the basics, gas gen 1, gas gen 2, fuel-rich. Here's the other thing. Fuel-rich staged and oxidizer-rich staged. Instead of a stage engine, it actually breaks it up into the two different types of staged engines, fuel and oxidizer-rich. And then, of course, we have pressure-fed 1. It actually changes how that looks a little bit. Electric engines, nothing crazy there. Full flow stage, it is our tried and true full flow stage. The other things, the real crazy stuff it adds, is the advanced nuclear thermal engines. These guys are super cool. So we have a liquid core and a gas core and the pulsed nuclear thermal rocket. So there are some just super fun things that it adds to the game. Like this guy right here. This engine is ridiculously efficient. I mean, just crazy levels of fuel efficiency. Not a ton of thrust though. So just a very, very interesting addition to the game. A lot of fun. But right now we're not using any of the crazy exotic. We are just using a very basic. This is a shoot. I just forgot the name of the cycle. Combustion tap-off cycle engine, which is a pretty basic engine. We're using it for our rocket. It's very efficient, and it is giving us the performance we need to push our SSTO into space very easily. So now what we're going to be working on is, because we've got a rocket that works and gets us into orbit easily, which is the first big hurdle with SSTOs. And that's kind of why I wanted to do a vertically launched SSTO, because I think they're a little easier to get into orbit. Next big hurdle that we're going to have to overcome is getting it out of orbit and making sure that we have enough fuel to do the missions that we want to do on it. That's kind of the challenge. So we have 7,000 meters per second of delta V in our budget right now. That's going to go down when we add a payload pretty significantly. Let's open up the cargo bay here. So this is where we're going to have our, let's see, this will be where we put our cargo. I'm going to do a one-door cargo bay, which is something that is available in the new update. And we're just trying to figure out what we want to do. How we want to make this guy work. Or not how we want to make it work per se, but what kind of payload we're going to load into our rocket. Now, I think at this point we can take a look at the poll. I put out a poll about 40 minutes ago asking what you guys would want to see for the payload. And right now, 43% for spy satellite, 50% for space telescope, and 7% for weather satellite. And you know what, guys? I think you're not being fair to the weather satellite option. I don't think you understand just how important weather satellites are. So really do give that a more fair consideration here. But it seems like you guys want to launch a space telescope. So that's what we're going to do today for our payload. So I actually think I've got one saved. Let me go to my things here. Space telescope, yes. Is this going to be an adequate space telescope for this live stream? You know, it's pretty good. Let's let's group everything together and let's add it to the payload bay. Is it going to fit? Where's that attached? Okay, that should fit fine. I'm going to make a few adjustments here. One, we're going to take this guy and shift it up, and then take this guy and shift it down so it fits a little bit more central. Whoa, didn't mean to grab that. Put that back. There we go. I'm going to put this. Nope, wrong one again. Shoot. Undo, 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 undo. I keep grabbing the wrong part. I want to grab that part. There we go. And put that right there. Okay, perfect. That's centered. We're going to update the textures on this too. I mean, come on. Just simple texture. Not a good look. Let's do panels. I'm a big fan of the panel texture. So we'll do panels for the body here. And then what should we do for this? Well, we're not going to do striped for sure. Could do channels like that. That wouldn't look too bad, except let me bring out the tiling a little bit. 0.5. How does that look? It almost looks a little disjointed. Actually, you know what? That looks okay. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Comments here. Have you ever made a rocket where the first stage uses solid rocket motors only? I have actually. A couple of times. Pretty basic. You have a solid rocket booster with fins that are guiding it. Because solid rocket boosters don't gimbal in game. At least I don't think they do. Let me actually check that. I don't think they gimbal. I'm like 99% certain. Yes, they do not gimbal. So if you're using solid rocket boosters, you need some other form of guidance. Most people, when they build their first stage, the gimbaling of their motors is what guides them. But most rockets don't actually work like that. Instead of it just being the rocket engine's gimbaling, there's either a guidance system, you've got gyroscopes, or fins, or some other thing that's taking over. Now, a lot of modern rockets do gimbaling, like obviously the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy both gimbal. The Starship obviously gimbals, and there's some great footage and research on that. But most rockets don't. So, it's not too hard to build a rocket that only uses a solid rocket booster as its primary. But the bigger challenge I feel is trying to do a solid rocket booster as an upper stage, like kick stage. I don't know if you've ever tried to do one of those, because that's where the real challenge gets brought in. Because not only do you have to have like solid guidance on them, but usually kick stages are like dummy stages that push a payload into just that last couple meters per second. And so the stage is usually designed to be exactly the right amount of fuel so that when it stops burning, the payload is exactly in the correct orbit. And a lot of the times these kick stages will also have like induce a rotation on a craft to spin stabilize it. I'm trying to think of what a good example would be that you guys could look up if you were interested. Oh, you know what? Scott Manley did and this is going to be a little bit heretical. He did a Kerbal Space Program career mode run through, and he did like a realistic campaign mode, and he used kick stages on some of his early rockets that were solid rocket boosters, and they were solid rocket boosters with a spin stabilization. That is actually a lot more challenging, in my opinion, than just building a solid rocket booster first stage. So, yeah, I might do that in the future. Don't know. It's a fun little challenge, but really not what I'm looking for at the moment. Let's see. I'm gonna also make these a little prettier. At this point, we're just making this a pretty rocket. I think that's going to be the goal. So that looks a little better. Let's also change the colors of our control surfaces. Not the wings. Darn it. I said the control surfaces. There we go. JD Hunter G is saying that there is a bug with the one-door cargo bay. You know what? Let's give it a shot right now and see what happens. Haja Noel says a bunch of Chinese rockets use solid-fueled upper stages, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think that's true as well. And it's not just the Chinese. There are a number of different rockets that use, or a number of different launch systems that use solid rocket upper stages. So they're not that uncommon. Let's see. Cargo bay. Does it work? It looks like it works. Opens, shuts. Opens, shuts. Okay. The one-door cargo bay works. That shouldn't be an issue. Let's check. Now that we've added our payload, let's make sure that we have enough delta V to make this work. What is the mass of our payload? We're going to want to know that as well. Let's see. We've got this guy right here. How much does he weigh? 431,532. 440,000. So this is 9,000 pounds. That's a pretty hefty payload. Pretty hefty. A pretty solid weight. So 9,000 pounds. If this thing can launch 9,000 pounds, that's fairly impressive, in my opinion. What's our delta V? We are basically at the same delta V as well. 7,057 meters per second. That's great and all. I am going to make one change. This is a green exhaust, this liquid oxygen and methanol. I don't like the look of that. So we're gonna do something else. Because that's just awful looking, in my opinion. Let's do ethanol, and I'm going to have to update these to match. That actually gives us a better delta V. That gives us like 100 meters per second more delta V, which I'm always a fan of. We're going to use that extra earned delta V for our control systems, our guidance systems. So, like I said, we were losing control when in orbit because, or losing roll control while in orbit. And actually, we were losing all forms of control while in orbit because once we are out of the atmosphere and the engine is shut down, we don't have any way to adjust where we're pointing or what we're doing. So I'm going to add some, we're going to add gyroscopes, but we're also going to stick on a couple of fuel tanks and a couple of monopropellant thrusters that we're going to use as maneuvering thrusters. So we'll do liquid hydrogen, water, hydrazine, monoprop. Copy, paste that there. Let's also change the textures up on these so they're not ugly. We'll do rivets. Rivets and rivets. Why is that? How about cross beams? Oh, I see what the issue is. Let's go here. Gotcha. Well, I don't want that to be that long. I need it to be 0.7. But you know what we can do is... Oh, come on. Is that not going to line up nicely? Really? All right. Can't do cross beams. Don't want to do insulation. We could do grooves. I think grooves tiles a little better. Yeah, that works. We'll do the grooves texture for now. ER Plays says, well, India's GSLV Mark 1 and 2 is really weird. Solid rocket for first stage and L for boosters. What do you mean by L? Liquid. Oh, liquid for boosters, of course. Duh. Yeah, don't know a ton about that platform. Don't know a ton about Chinese. Not Chinese. This is an Indian rocket you're talking about. I'm aware that India has a pretty big space program now, but just have not been tracking it very much. I honestly don't track other nations' space programs nearly as well. I'm probably not the most knowledgeable about like the ongoings of space politics, you could say, or space current events. Oh, did not mean to grab the wing. Undo that. Don't want that. There we go. I'm going to grab this guy again. Shoot, I want that to go there. What I'm going to do now is we're going to add little places for monopropellant thrusters to go on here. So I'm going to do basically just little end caps for these guys. And we will do, let's see, monopropellant thruster right there. Okay, so we've got one there. Or do we want to do multi-directional? Because we could do a multi-directional. Yeah, you know what? Let's try that. We're going to do a multi-directional one. I'm going to group this for starters. Where is it? 90 degrees right there. Ungroup. Garbage, get rid of you. I want the multi-directional port because that's going to be a little bit more handy. And then of course, it doesn't want to go together nicely. Okay, group it now. Group it now. So we've got that set up. 90 degrees. Boom. Okay, that looks better. Let's do two-way symmetry with that, or mirrored symmetry. Of course not. Is it going to do it now? Of course not. Okay, we're going to have to do this. So if you're ever working on a craft in SimpleRockets 2, here's a little life lesson. Working on a craft in SimpleRockets 2, and for some reason the symmetry is not working for you. You just can't get the right part to connect to the fuel tank like that. What you do is you turn all of the connections off, and then you turn only the connections of the part you want to connect on, like I just did there. Now what that'll do is it'll guarantee that the part that I want to connect will be the one that actually does the connecting, and not a adjacent part like it was doing there. So we've got our payloads. We're going to call these our maneuvering pods right here, and we're going to add a couple more things. We need probably some RCS thrusters on the side here. We're going to have one there. We'll make these four-way symmetric. 2, 3, 4, like that. And I'm actually going to drag this down to the very bottom of the craft. And then we will do another one right here. Four-way symmetric as well. Okay, so we have vertical, lateral, we have forward and backward. And we should probably get some that can do rotations, because we can rotate this way now. We can't rotate up and down. That's the next thing we need to make sure we can do, is rotate up and down. So I could do four-way symmetry on these pods and then embed them a little bit. That would be one solution. Do that and then grab it and sink it down like that. Honestly, that's not too bad. You know what? I'm willing to give it a shot, see if that works out. Let's see what our delta V is now. We are at 6,396. Ooh. That is a lot of a drop. I think we can still get it in orbit, but that is a significant drop. Let's see, how does that change if we go back? Wait. if we go back to 2, 6,739. So that does make a pretty significant distance difference. My bad. Clumsy with words here. What do you think about putting the pods on the edges of the wingtips? I could. The one problem with putting the pods there is the way these wingtips are set up right now. The 2 wingtips are not attached to one fuel tank. It would be kind of wonky to do it there. I could cheat it a little bit. And do that. So they're not actually attached. It's like this is not attached to the wingtips at all. They're actually attached to the fuselage and then just clipped over onto the wingtips, which works. I mean, it works. It doesn't look terrible either. How about this? What do you guys think? Do you think they look better nestled on the wingtips like that? Or do you think they would look better tucked in between the wings along the side of the fuselage? Vote now with your voice. I'm not going to make a poll. Just yell in the chat which one you think I should do. And while you guys are yelling about that, I need to make sure we can get this baby back on the ground. So we're going to add some landing gear. Let's do mirror symmetry. There we go. And vertical offset angle is, yep, that's the right one. Now just make sure that's a little bit much. Let's go, should be 30. I think that's off by 30 anyway. Yeah, so 30, and then we will do straddled wheels like that. ER Play says between the wings. Any other voices of opinion before I make a decision myself? I'm obviously biased. Want to say the wingtips? Sure, yeah, it was your idea. It wasn't a bad idea. This kind of gives it a more of a sci-fi look, having them on the wingtips like that. Day Jump. Hey, how you doing, bud? I'm doing well. We are having a little bit of a discussion on where we should put our maneuvering pods here. Right now I've got them nestled on the wingtips, and actually them being on the wingtips gives me an idea. Texas Guy says wingtips, and I am now inclined. I may have just made up my mind here. Because I'm seeing... Oh, wait, no, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's going to be a pain. We could do the same thing with the wheels, connect it to the fuselage, and then drag it out to the side. But because of the symmetry mode on the wingtips, if I attach it directly to the pod, they like rubber band, or they don't rubber band, but they're like flipped on the wrong side, so that's not going to work. If I decrease the size of these bays, though, make them fit within the pod, that's too big. There we go. And then the gear length needs to be pretty much all the way to clear it. Then we slide that back. Can we make that a little bigger? Is it possible to make that just a little bit bigger? That is too big. 75? 75 might be as big as we can get it. And is there a way for me to position it so it doesn't look stupid? I can put it there and then in slightly so that it's between the wings. Okay, that might do it. And we'll mirror symmetry that. And then if we make the gear length on this really short, that should work. Okay, that should do it. We're going to leave that alone for now. I want to go find my command ship. And really quickly, we're going to tweak the control groups. Edit activation groups. I want landing gear to start not deployed. And then is there a way to actually make them start not deployed? There should be, right? Advanced wheel state. And there we go. Start extended disabled like that. Someone's saying disable the bay. Of course I should disable the bay. Great suggestion. That would make them look a lot less dumb. No bay. There we go. So now they're just sticking out like that, which means we can make them a little bit bigger too. So I'm going to change the position, get them centered on the pod like that. And we'll tuck them in fully into the pod and make them bigger. Like that. That's probably a little too big, actually. I'm going to go We'll do 95. See if there's like a sweet spot I can get this. Oh, it's just sticking out right there. You know what? We're gonna make that work. You've been having issues with wheels being way overpowered. Is there a way to fix this? No, that's another thing that's weird, is that the wheels have way too much torque. Like, way too much torque. If you bring the torque setting to the very minimum of what it allows in game, it's still overpowered for most applications. I have no idea why like that's the range, or like what the physics equivalent for the torque setting is on that. It's just overpowered. One thing you can do to get around it is if you know how to XML edit, and I'm not going to try and explain how to XML edit right now because it's a little bit more involved, and I'm not super good at it either. I'd have to research it some. But if you XML edit, you can go into the game settings and actually adjust certain slider values beyond what the range is on the slider, and it doesn't break the game. So what I would do is go in there and then change motor torque to like 10. If the minimum is like 100, set it to 10, or set it to whatever makes sense for your application. That's probably the easiest solution. Honestly, that's something that the devs should fix though, because it's a little obnoxious that like just how over torqued and overpowered wheels are in the game right now. So I hope that helps. I might actually make a video on how to do XML editing in the future because it's kind of a useful skill. There is a lot of fun little things you can do just to kind of tweak the game. That's one of them. Don't want to add 2 stages here, but that's definitely one of them. Is being able to play around with stuff like that. Okay, side interstages, interstage. Interstage. This guy we've got to disable, right? This guy has to be disabled. Tinker panel, stage activation, none. I don't know how to XML edit. Well, if you're playing on mobile, I'm sorry, but I think there's like one way you can XML edit technically, but it's pretty complicated. I only know how to do it on PC. I play on mobile as well, and I have no idea how to do it on mobile. I think there's some like third-party software you have to download, and if you're playing on iOS, it's even harder. So don't get your hopes up if you're playing mobile. If you're playing PC, it's not too complicated. You literally just have to go rooting around in the files, and then once you find the right file, you basically just like open up the XML as a text document and you can play around with the numbers in there. But for mobile, yeah, no idea how to make that work. So hopefully someone more knowledgeable than me can come along and tell you what you need to do there, because I genuinely don't know. In the meantime, we are, I think, ready to test this out with a payload, see if we can get it off the ground. We have pretty much everything we need here. Let's see, we've got our maneuvering pods, we've got our payload, change the fuel type, so we have a new fuel type ready to go. Yeah, let's get this party started. And I also fixed the issues with the staging, because I came in here twice and the staging was all jacked up. So throttle is up. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, lock a course right there. We'll open up the nav ball. I'm going to fly this one by nav ball. We've got our flight view. Throttle's up. Light the engines. And our thrust to weight ratio is low. Our thrust to weight ratio is too low. Just under the tolerance. All the extra stuff has changed our thrust to weight ratio enough that we are not able to get off the launch pad. So got to fix that. Let's see. Nozzle length can go up, and a longer nozzle will give us some more thrust. We're at, hold on. If I go there, 5,204. What? 5,204? That's so little. That's so little. Where did all my thrust go? I don't want a crazy long aerospike. Hold on. Can I like adjust this? No. Well, I want to bring my gimbal range down a little bit anyway. We'll do 8 degrees of gimbal. No, 10's fine. 10's fine. 5,333. That's really cutting it close as far as delta V to get into orbit. I think the lowest delta V to orbit I've done is like 4,600. That's pushing it. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna have big engine, lots of fuel. Let's bring down the throat size and bring up the engine size a little bit. .21, still not much. How much monopropellant do I really need though? Like, how much do I really need? You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ungroup this. I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna throw that away. And I'm gonna realize that that's not gonna cooperate and have to fiddle with this sum. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now let's drag this back here. That should reduce our weight. How much delta V does that save us by taking out some monopropellant? Still not enough, it looks like. What are we looking at? 5,383. That's barely any different. Where is all this extra weight coming from? Are we not... Hold on, what's our fuel type? Because that's a big drop. That's bigger than I was expecting. What is this? That's a cargo bay. Ethanol 95, ethanol 95%. Okay. Usually shorter nozzles is good for atmospheric engines. That might only apply to BE engines. So yes, that is true, but this is an aerospike. And the nice fun thing about aerospikes is that they are basically max efficient at all atmospheric levels. It is a cool little feature of them. Because if I look at this here, we've got basically the same thrust to weight ratio the whole way through. Very fun. That is actually a feature. I'm not going to go into the physics of exactly why aerospikes work like that, but it's basically because it's an inverted nozzle. They don't overexpand like you would see in other engines. Okay, we've got a thrust to weight ratio greater than 1. It's pretty narrow, and we don't have a ton in the way of excess fuel here, but I think we can make this work. Let's go ahead and launch. We should start accelerating. Yes, we are accelerating in the right direction. But not fast enough. Not fast enough. That is a huge waste of fuel. Okay. Let's see what we can do to fix this. Craft is too heavy for what we're trying to do on it now. What is in this right now? What's in this? Monopropellant? Doesn't need that much monopropellant. Battery? Ooh, that's a big battery. Let's make that a smaller battery. Never mind, I can't make it a smaller battery. Well, here's what we're going to do. Instead of making that a smaller battery, let's make that not a battery. And let's empty it. This actually does need some hydrazine. We're going to need some monopropellant for this guy. But what I'm going to do is add another part here. Make it pretty small, like one click there. Like that. That will be our battery component right there. Okay, how does that impact our delta V? 6,439. That's significantly better. Okay, we're making progress. So make the payload lighter is always your first go-to with fixing these kind of things. SRBs in the fuselage stage. No, we are making a single stage to orbit. Adding extra stages makes it not a single stage to orbit. May need more than one engine. That is what I'm thinking as well at this point. Not really seeing any other way around that at this point. One thing I am going to do is get that to go away for now so I can just look at the rocket itself. It would be a pretty boring live stream if I had this fixed like right off the bat. If it was working the whole way just perfectly, then there wouldn't be a live stream now, but it's not working, which means we get to have a live stream. That's the whole point of this. You're welcome, guys. Here's what we'll do. We'll add we'll add that guy, which I need to make sure I have actually lined up properly. Like so. Mirror symmetry, connect our engine to it. Okay. Let's see. Let's put that there, scoot that in. Don't want them clipping together. We'll make the engine smaller. $110. Let's shrink down our nozzle throat size, bring up our performance analyzer, and see what kind of performance we're getting. Okay, that's already better. I'm looking at 1.32 thrust to weight ratio and 1.13 at the ground, so that's very, very close. We can make that a little better. Let's look at our thrust to weight ratio at the ground. 5,040, 5,015. Let's go for like there, because that increases the weight a little bit too. The weight may make it not worth making it much bigger like that. Okay, and thrust to weight ratio at the ground of 1.24. 6,283. That's not bad. That's not bad. Other things we can change are the fuel type. I think I want to leave that alone. I don't want to change my fuel type too much, because one of the problems with changing your fuel type is you end up having to like completely readjust your thrust to weight ratio every time. Width, let's do double wide here. Try and fit both engine bells there. Like so, and we'll do 1.2. Nice. Okay, we've got kind of a shroud that covers both engines nicely. Need to use fuel adapters to connect to the side of the fuel tank. Yes, I know that. Did I know that in the exact second I was fiddling around with it and forgot? Maybe not, but I do generally know that. I'm also going to make a couple of quick adjustments here because I realized for some reason 2.7. We'll do 3. No, 3. 3. 3.8. 0.1. I don't know why. This was all supposed to be on a 1-to-1 grid. 3, 3. There we go. So I don't know why things are kind of off grid, but they are fixed now. 3.8, 9.4. Let's just bring that up to a 10. Let's add a little bit more fuel. Okay, 5,514, 6,291, 1.81 thrust to weight ratio, or 1.18 thrust to weight ratio. My apologies. Is there anything else we could do? The one thing I'm thinking, and I don't even want to do that, is we could have drop tanks. We could do drop tanks. That is the one thing that I'm not trying right now. Let's see if we can make this work though with basically 100% thrust like that. Add those parts back in. We've got 2 engines now, 4 interstages. Let's see if we can do it on 1. And maybe add a little bit there. Have it all in one stage, like that. There we go. 5,454 meters per second of delta V. Is that going to be enough to get our payload into orbit? Drop tanks. Okay, so aircraft, usually military fighter aircraft, carry what are called fuel pods on the wingtips, and you can place a fuel pod where you would usually place a missile or a bomb and connect these fuel pods to the main fuel tanks. And then if you come into a situation where, like, oh shoot, my fuel pods are too heavy and I need to let go of them to maneuver, or maybe they're empty and you want to let go of them to ditch the weight, you just let go of them, and it's just an empty fuel tank. It's super cheap, so you don't have to worry about recovering them. So that was one other thing that I was considering doing here, but I'd like to avoid it. I don't want, kind of in the spirit of this, I don't want anything falling off this craft. That's the goal, at least. We'll see if we can make it work. Okay, launch. Oh, should have let my engine spool up before launching, but it's okay because we are thrusting up. Gonna go ahead and rotate. Why is it not letting me rotate any farther? Why is it not letting me rotate any farther? Come on. All the way. There we go. Okay. And let's start pitching over. We have a thrust weight ratio of 1.87. Turn off my RCS. I don't want that running right now. All right, we are climbing steadily, looking good so far. Gonna try and really pitch over here a little bit. Love that purple exhaust. I like that purple exhaust a lot better than the green exhaust. That's just prettier to me. Okay, we are looking good so far. Love the glow. I mean, that's a pretty little screenshot right there. Okay, we are way too high on our apoaps. This wasn't regulating that enough. We're going to relaunch. We'll call that a bit of a failed test, but mostly on my part. I wasn't monitoring my apoapsis closely enough. I should have been more careful about that. We need to bank over sooner. That's the thing that I need to remember. Bank over as soon as you can. And also, I'm going to activate these in advance, like so. Heard stories of pilots in World War II using their drop tanks like bombs to destroy targets. That, I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, because, well, I guess you could. Problem is, if you drop a drop tank and it's empty, it doesn't fall very fast because it's just a hollow metal tube, and its terminal velocity is pretty slow, so it kind of doesn't hit the ground with a lot of kinetic energy. And all it is jet fuel or gasoline, which, you know, might cause a fire. So I guess I could see, like, if you're a pilot and you drop a full, like a fully loaded fuel pod on a target, it's like dropping gasoline on a target, and it'd be heavy enough. Maybe you could splash it with gasoline, but they're not designed to be destructive. That's not part of the design. This is going a little bit better. We are thrusting early and hard, but I am pitching over a little bit more than I want to. Go ahead and... Will it let me roll? Will it let me roll? Here, let's go ahead and pitch early. Want to start that now. There we go. Okay. Now it's letting me roll. I think I'm going to turn the gimbling on my engines off. I'm realizing now that it is not really helping me to have those gimbaled. Okay, let's look at orbital frame of reference. Let's go ahead and just have it follow my prograde up, my surface reference frame prograde up. If you drop a fuel tank, it negates the whole point of bringing it in the first place. No, not necessarily. So a fuel tank, as it would be designed here, you're basically using the external fuel tanks to refuel or top off your internal fuel tanks. As soon as the external fuel tanks are empty, you drop them because they're not worth bringing along, and the dead weight's not any good. So I've done actually an SSTO that uses drop tanks for part of its design, and it was successful. Like it worked as a design. I'm going to throttle down here as we continue to move our way into orbit. Apoapsis at 60,000. I'm going to pitch down pretty severely here and let this guy carry itself into orbit now. Anyway, yeah, so drop tanks could absolutely work for a mission like this. I'm just not sure if I want to use them. That's kind of the thing. We're going to go ahead and zero out our pitch. Yeah, exactly like the space shuttle. You are 100% correct. The external fuel tank on the space shuttle was a drop tank. What kind of fuel am I using? This is running on liquid oxygen and 95% ethanol, which is basically it's running on really, really refined moonshine and oxygen, because ethanol is alcohol, basically. Ethanol is alcohol. 95% ethanol is a crazy strong alcohol. It's like Everclear, basically. Okay, we are about to get into orbit here. That's 200,000. That's my target orbit. We'll go ahead and make a maneuver node here to circularize. Pause it. Whoops. Bumping my mic now. Let's see. We're going to need probably another couple hundred meters per second of delta V. I'm going to guess under 1,000, though. Yep. Right at about 500 should do us. Just under. 468. Not bad. We are in position for our circularization burn. Let's see how accurately it can do this. And almost there, almost there, almost there. Okay, overshot just a smidge, but nothing too crazy. We are in orbit of Droo. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and time warp forward here. So yeah, this is our SSTO in orbit. We have not tested its return. We do not know if this is going to land well. So that's going to be the next hurdle to overcome here. Let's go ahead and deploy our payload, though. We've got our space telescope right there. I'm going to lock my camera onto it. And we will go ahead and let's actually roll this out a little bit. There we go. Align up our spacecraft. Turn off the UI. Slow down speed. And just let it drift out of the payload. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, I'm actually going to take control of this now. I want to take control of it. There we go. Let's deploy the solar panels on this guy. Oh, well, they're white for some reason, which is not ideal. But you know what? It's fine. Not a huge problem. Let's see. There should be a camera on this guy, if I remember correctly. No, maybe not. Well, that's fine. It doesn't need to have a camera on it to work. We're going to point that towards the stars, turn on its sensors, and let it start absorbing science from the ether. We will start collecting all of the great experimental data there is to be gathered from it. In the meantime, I'm going to switch back to my rocket here. What? Nope. There we go. All right, close the cargo bay. We have 8% of our fuel left, which is 1440 meters per second delta V. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to warp time ahead until our destinations are on the light side of the planet. And we're going to go ahead and deorbit our craft. We'll probably start the deorbit burn about here. Actually, before we do that, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save location so that we can test our reentries a little better. SSTO reentry test. Okay, SSTO reentry test. We'll set that up. That location is saved to make this a little bit faster testing. Was there any SSTO that real life has worked? I don't think so. Some people might say the space shuttle counts as an SSTO, but I don't think it counts because it had a drop tank and solid rocket boosters. As far as I'm aware, we've never really been able to make a single stage to orbit work. At least not in a meaningful sense commercially. Okay, so I've got that set up. We're going to set our deorbit burn here. And I've got a lot more delta V to work with. So I'm actually going to make this a lot earlier. Pretty early burn. Right about, we'll go a little closer. Right about there. I want to overshoot the target a little bit. Lock that burn in. Lock. Set. And we are going to burn retrograde to deorbit our ship here. Engines are spooling up. That's a beautiful purple beautiful purple plume, maybe a magenta. I'm not sure what you would call that color, actually. It's a little light to be a purple. That was too much, though. So I'm going to quickly flip around prograde and do a correction burn, because that was too much. Too much. And I am wasting monopropellant here. There we go. Okay, I want to be just out over the ocean like that. Next thing I want to take a look at is, where is the fuel actually? It's mostly in the nose. That's good. I'm going to pump. Actually, that should be about as balanced as I can get it. I'm going to roll over. Nope, I'm going to roll over the other way, because this is the top. And we're going to time warp into the atmosphere. Now, I don't have any heat shield on this. Actually, hold on. I don't have any heat shield parts on this. And honestly, I'm going to turn off the heat damage for now. Hopefully it will actually let me turn off the heat damage. It might not. We're about to find out. Going to keep our nose pitched up, though. And we are overshooting, which is okay, because we... Oh, nope. It didn't. Let's relaunch. It did not turn off re-entry damage. Unfortunate. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. Shoot, forgot that if I relaunch with the whole craft, it's going to relaunch with the whole craft. Cheating confirmed? No, this is not cheating. This is testing efficiently. This is not an official flight. I am simply trying to figure out what the best way or best configuration for this is. So we're going to basically quick save to where we were before with just a smidge of fuel. I think we had about that much, maybe more like that much fuel. And we'll say that much fuel. So barely any fuel. And let's also open up the cargo bay and take out the payload, shut the cargo bay. All right, we're going to try this again. That's why I saved the location, because I wanted to be able to test this craft's re-entry capabilities faster than trying to relaunch the mission every time, because that would be painful to try and do every time. So what did we learn from that one? We need to not overshoot the target as much. We need to actually drop our orbit pretty fast. So we're going to try this again. How much delta V do I have? I have 12,043 meters per second. That should be plenty. We'll tuck our orbit down to right about there, and that is almost all of our fuel right there. So I'm going to lock that. Oh, actually, I'm not going to lock that, because I remember that we undershot last time. So we're going to do that. More like, nope, don't want to. I don't want another one. Let me edit the one I'm working on. There we go. Right about there. So not quite 1,000. 9,000 or 929 would be better. It didn't turn off, but that was a bit of an aggressive descent profile. Yes, that was a very aggressive descent profile. We're trying to do a little shallower here, starting a little farther back. Damn it. Still too much. Okay. Gonna push that back out. That is actually as far as it'll go. All right, trying this again from the top. Let's see what our descent's going to look like this time. Looking good so far, actually. Okay, we are hitting the atmosphere. I'm going to pitch my craft up as we come into the atmosphere. Yep, getting nice and toasty. Whoop, 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 whoop. Gonna manually fly this in. First thing I'm noticing, and this is why we do testing, first thing I'm noticing, my roll is inverted, which is super frustrating. Pitch is not inverted though, which is good. We are already on a pretty good approach for the Space Center though, which I'm glad to see that we are on the right approach there. Roll is way too touchy though. I'm going to turn off that. I don't have any yaw control either. Let's see. I need to pitch up pretty severely. This is the other thing that I need to see is how aerodynamically stable is this thing? Do I have any authority over stuff, or is it pretty like static? It looks like I've got some authority. I want to test the glide slope as well. See just how much glide I've got out of it. The answer to that question is basically none, as it is not picking the nose up at all and crashes into the ground. Okay, so that tells us things. That tells us things that we want to know. First up, we're going to de-invert the roll, because that is super frustrating. And I will not be able to fly it well if that's going to be an issue. So I'm going to de-invert it. We're also going to bring down the sensitivity of the roll and make that control surface smaller, like so. Pitch was, I think, too small, actually. We did not have a lot of authority in the pitch department. The other big issue we were having was the center of mass was too far forward. Let's take a look at our center of mass right now. That is way too far forward. Way too far. So how are we going to fix that? We are going to... Well, there's two things we could do. We could shift the wings up. Let's see. How does it look? Where's our center of mass fully fueled? Because that's going to make a big difference here. Is it still pretty far forward? It's still very far forward. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to push these wings significantly farther forward. Both of them. We'll have to make some adjustments to everything else after this. We'll go even farther. Even farther. Even farther. How about... Oh, too far. Down. Oh, too far again. Line up. There we go. How about that? And then we'll scoot this guy forward and this guy forward. Okay, let's see. So that's where our center of mass and center of lift lined up empty. Let's see where they line up, full. Let's see where they line up empty. Whoops. Okay, so here is a perfect example of something that is impossibly unstable. We have a center of mass behind a center of lift, which is a recipe for disaster. I want to make sure that my center of mass is in front of my center of lift, like so. What's the difference between the blue and the red marker? Blue is center of lift, red is center of mass, and there's actually a third one. Yellow here is your center of thrust. Engine thrust is calculated using altitude currently set in the performance analyzer, center of lift indicator right there. So, if you're trying to find characteristics about your craft, the first thing you should be doing is looking at your blue and your red orb. Center of lift, center of mass. They are probably the most important ones. So this is the out of fuel configuration. Oh, and I actually forgot. Hold on. There is a... If I do 100% fuel, 100% fuel, 100% fuel, 100% fuel. That is our fully fueled configuration. If I have my 2, 1, 2. Okay, never mind. How about adding canards to move the center of lift a bit higher instead? That was the other option, actually. Was adding canards. I didn't want to do that initially because I don't want to add any mass at this point. So if I can adjust my center of lift by adjusting wing position over adjusting the... brain fart. If I can adjust my center of lift by just adjusting my wings and not adding any mass, as opposed to adding mass by adding canards, I'm going to do that because canards add drag and they add weight to the craft, which is going to decrease our performance. I want to keep this thing light. We are going to drain it of pretty much all fuel again, except enough to do our deorbit burn, like so. And we're actually gonna give it a little less fuel this time, and no fuel in this tank, and no fuel in this tank. Okay, we are going to go ahead and give this guy a second shot. Let's see what we've got. I'm going to go to the... Oh! What did I hit? Oh, did it? Hold on. Did it eject the side interstage? That's fine. That's fine. If it ejected the side interstage, that's not a big deal. Okay, we have our target there. I'm going to... Oh, nope. Overshot. We're going to do our planned burn right here and bring us out of orbit. We're gonna go a lot shallower too. Want to keep as much velocity as possible. Okay, lock. Set to burn. And then I can make some smaller adjustments to my orbit after this, as I see fit. Okay, we are deorbited. I'm going to go ahead and point prograde. Just going to time warp to it. All right, we are on our way down. Roll belly side down. We've got our roll surfaces trimmed. Everything is looking good. Just going to fast forward now. We are coming too far. That's fine. For a test, that's fine, because we are right now, we're testing aerodynamic performance than we are actually trying to land the sucker. But this is useful data about where I need to plan my burns. Okay, we are re-entering nice and hot. Going to go ahead and point my nose up a little bit. Point my nose up a little bit, if it'll let me. Really trying here. Really trying to get some... Turn off those. Nope, doesn't seem to want to. Is there any way to see what my center of mass and lift are in game? Oh, that might be contributing to it. My wing vectors, hold on. My wing vectors are opposite of each other. Which I wonder if that has anything to do with my inability to pitch up, is my wing vectors are totally opposite each other. That's food for thought. Pedro, are you still in the chat? Are you still watching this? Would you be able to contribute some of your knowledge of the game's systems to me on that one? My wing vectors are opposite each other. Let's see. There's a couple of settings I can tweak here. Invert airfoil. I want to say invert airfoil is the move there. Okay, we're going to try it. Another test flight. Let's see what we can do. See if we can make some improvements here. All right. Time warp around till we are in position there. Okay, I'm going to start my burn way back here. Pause the game. But we're going to stick it a little closer this time. Right about there. Well, right about there. Lock. Actually, I think even closer. I think we need to go even closer. Let's go there. Oh, a little too far, but that ultimately shouldn't make a difference because we do have wings. We can glide the rest of the way if our point of impact is a little short. And it's also a little south. Are you going to play AFS again? Do you mean SFS? And if so, maybe. Maybe. Haven't really given it much thought recently, but yeah, wouldn't be opposed to it. Just haven't had the desire to. I did it a couple of times for that one video, but just haven't had a reason to at the moment. SFS is a pretty epic game. Gotta agree with you on that. Is it the OG? I don't think so. Honestly, I'm not convinced that SFS is the OG space builder. It is up there though as one of the greats. But honestly, SimpleRockets 2 is by far the better space sim, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean, it's a 3D space sim, a lot better physics modeling, a lot better, a lot more accurate, a lot more fun in my opinion. And that's kind of what my channel is based around, is SimpleRockets 2 and not Spaceflight Simulator. There are other channels that are based around Spaceflight Simulator. Great channels too. They're really phenomenal. So if you're looking for Spaceflight Simulator content, I would look in that direction. Let's look at my wing vectors. Still in the wrong directions, it would seem. Oh yeah, and SimpleRockets 1, obviously. Yeah, if there's a SimpleRockets 2, you got to think, why is there a SimpleRockets 2? It's because there's a SimpleRockets 1. Okay, I think it's time. I think it's time to bust out the canards. Because we're still having issues here. So this will be our last ditch effort. Let's take a look at our center of mass, center of lift. It's just too far back. So we're going to have to bust out the canards. So whoever suggested the canards, congratulations, you're getting your wish today. Here they are, our canards, which that's a weird position for it. There we go, it's a little better. We'll do something like this. Pretty basic, squared off on the edge. We'll have very, very small control surfaces, and I want it to be roll. We're not going to invert it. Or we could do pitch. Could I do pitch? Would that work? Let's try it with pitch. And if not, we'll do roll, or we'll just take the control surface off the canards altogether. Maybe put wings in back like the F-35, be slightly slanted or something. That's really not going to fix what we're looking at right now. The problem we're facing right now is that our center of lift is too far back. We need our center of lift to be more forwards. Trying to think of ways to make it more forwards. Tuck those in. That's a little bit big though. Those canards are big. That's the problem. Wings could also be shrunk down too. That's one option that we haven't really looked at yet. Let's try that before we do anything else. Or actually, no, before we do anything else, let's shift the wings back forward a little bit. Nope. Wrong. Grab the wrong part. There we go. Got that. And shift that. Okay. So our center of lift and center of mass are a lot closer. Can I check the lift vectors in the designer? Can I? I don't think so. Or I can. Yeah, I can show lift vectors. Hey, I can show the lift vectors. Okay. Where are our lift vectors? This one is just pointing in the wrong direction altogether. Maybe I can turn it off. Isn't there a way to change that? Okay, here we go. No, that seems to work. Okay, so semi-symmetric, not inverted airfoil. Those lift vectors going the right way. Pitch is going up. You know what? I think trying to invert the airfoil was a red herring. I think that was totally a red herring. Now that I'm looking at it, I think it was just a center of lift. Center of lift, center of mass issue the whole time. I don't think it had anything to do with the vectors initially. And then when I flipped them, that was actually the wrong thing to do because I thought it was making it better, but it wasn't. So what we're going to do now is leave it alone like that. That's too close. A little farther back. Okay, here is our deorbit burn. Maybe use a rotator for the fins. I think I'm going to leave them alone for now. That is an option, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do just yet. Those kind of like moving parts can really add to the complexity, and sometimes the physics simulation is not a fan. SimpleRockets 1, SimpleRockets 2, Space Agency, and SFS are all the best mobile rocket games. 100% agree. 100% agree. They are all in the top. I remember playing Space Agency first, actually. Space Agency was the first like space sim that I played. And Space Sim is it's a strong term for Space Agency. It's definitely a more gamified space game, not space sim, but yes, Space Flight Simulator, SimpleRockets 1. I played SimpleRockets 1 for a long time. And then when SimpleRockets 2 came out, I think I'd been playing SimpleRockets 1 for 2 years, maybe a year and a half. For some time. I've been playing Simple Planes as well. And then SimpleRockets 2 was announced, and I was super excited. It's one of the first games I got on PC. And I've been playing it. I've been playing SimpleRockets 2 ever since, and haven't gone back. I think SimpleRockets 2 is just so far and above superior the other games at this point. Okay, I think we're ready to give this one more go. Vectors are all pointing in the right direction, which is good. I'm going to turn off my monopropellant for now. We're looking like we're going to overshoot. I'm actually going to pitch down. Roll. I'm going to pitch up now. All of our vectors are going the right way, which is good. They're oscillating a little bit because we're turning. Do I have control of this thing is the question now. Or why are these vectors fighting each other? Why? Do I have any pitch authority at this point? Is it still too far back? Because it seems like let's turn on my monopropellant. Nothing. Barely pitching up. Okay. One more thing that I can think to try. One more thing that I can think to try on this is switch which one of these has the roll and which one of these has the pitch controls. So if we have the bottom wing be our roll control surface and have that kind of set up like that, nothing too crazy, and we have this upper wing stand in as our pitch control surface, give it a nice hearty dose there. Let's these are the pitch 2. This is pitch, yeah. Let's increase the angle of attack a little bit, and boy, that's a small control surface. That's not going to do anything. Make that a little longer. Come on, make it a little longer. There we go. All right, let's try this. Let's try this. When in doubt, just keep on trying to problem solve as best you can. We're gonna fast forward through time here. Oh, too far. All right. Here we go. And start our deorbit there. Right there. A little farther. And we're going to go use a little bit of our fuel to adjust our approach as well. Okay, right about there should be good. Lock, auto burn, go for it. Let's see if we can pull this guy off. Let's see if we've solved the problems. I believe the pitch control would work best on the canards. Well, we do have these set as pitch controllers. And we've got the upper wing now set as a pitch controller, which I don't know if that's what it needs, but hopefully that's what it needs. Forgot to activate my engines. It was nice to catch the screen, bud. Got to go do some tax evasion. Cheers. Well, thank you for joining. Don't get caught evading your taxes. I won't tell on you, but be careful if you're going to be flaunting the IRS. And you have a good night, dude. Okay, we are flipped around. Let's make this work. Let's make this work. Here we come. And we are making contact with the atmosphere. If I can get this to fly, we're golden. Oh, is my nose pitching up? No, it's not pitching up. Dang it. Not enough. Why am I pitching down? Why am I pitching down? Hold on. Okay, hold on. What the heck is going on here? Aside from killing my velocity really effectively, what is going on here? What is going on here? Okay, I'm gonna let this go for a second. What on earth? Okay. What is going on? I'm in like a flat dead spin for no reason. Okay, all control surfaces are neutral. We're just falling at this point. Why is it pitching? I've got no control inputs at this point, and we're pitching around for some reason. Okay, let's roll over. Are we responsive at this point? What? Why is that? Why is that the way that is? I am flying it. This is a controlled flight. Okay. That's wonky beyond all belief. Huh. Huh. Don't like that. Don't like that. Let's invert the pitch. And you know what, we're gonna make a little adjustment here, because even this little thing is taking too long. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. And if I can't get this to work, you know what, we're just gonna have to call it for now. We've got a mostly successful SSTO. It's really looking good. It's just, this is the hard part with SSTOs. This right here. I'm going to lock in this burn. We're going to perform it. And then we're going to save, this launch location basically. Okay. Save location, SSTO, final approach. Okay. All right, we are hot tailing it in. Lol, I just saw the cam in the corner. You talking about my webcam there, bud? Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if this does it. Okay. It's unstable at this point. Let's see if I can't manually fly it. I'm going to turn off the RCS. That doesn't seem to be helping at this point. Also, we don't have any like vertical yaw control surfaces. Maybe I need to adjust that. I could add some. A gentler reentry. Well, a gentler reentry isn't what we're trying to test right now. Could definitely do a gentler reentry, and this is controllable at this point, which is good. This is progress. Maybe I need to re-invert my pitch controls. All right, let's see if I can land it. While we're at this, pick up some speed here. Will it let me? Nope, it will not. Okay. And also maybe add a vertical thing. A vertical stabilizer, I think is what you're talking about. And yes, that was the thing I'm thinking about, because I'm getting a weird pitch here where I shouldn't be. We're going to undo that, and then let's add fins to this. We're going to make them fairly small. We don't need a ton here. We'll do kind of in this general shape, like that. Let's see. 270. So right there, and then I will duplicate that and put that on the bottom. Whoop! Come back. Put that back there. Man, this recommendation appeared to me in the exact day I had the idea of getting back into playing the game. Hey! Well, I am glad that our fates have collided like that. I definitely think you should get back into the game if you are considering it. And I just realized we can't put a fin there because our landing gear is going to come out that way, so we'll just have to do the vertical stabilizers there, and we'll do yaw control. Okay, we are going to test this out with our new launch location. Relaunch from SSTO final approach. What kind of fuel am I using? I'm using a liquid oxygen 95% ethanol fuel mix. It is from a mod that I've got installed in the game called Stock Engine Overhaul, and adds a bunch of fuel types. So if you were wondering what fuel I'm using, that is what fuel I'm using. That is why it is purple. Too much spin, too much spin. Okay. We're going to just let it follow apoapsis down and see if that ends up being stable or if it ends up freaking out. I think I turned off RCS. Nope. Now I have. Ow, shoot. Here we go again with this stupid thing. See a problem with my vertical stabilizers? I do. Unlock that. What? Why is it doing that again? Why is it inverted? Why is it inverted? But then when I uninvert it... Oh, you know what it... Alright, we're going to fix two things here. We keep finding little things to do here. Little things to fix. Okay, so this guy, where are its part connections? Delete that, add a base connection to the surface. Nope. There we go. And then, what was it? This guy... Is this guy inverted? This guy's inverted. Try inverting that guy. Okay. Mirror instead of R2, radial 2. Yep, that's basically what I just did there. Okay, let's test this approach and see if it works out better. Okay, that is looking better so far. And it is looking more pitch responsive, which is a promising sign. We do have a little bit of induced yaw here, which I'm not a fan of. Gonna let that work itself out. Big oscillations, big oscillations. But hey, you know what I'm seeing right now, guys? I am seeing stable flight. That's what I'm seeing. We're gonna get a little closer to the ground. We're not anywhere near the Droo Space Center right now. We are just testing our aeronautical properties. Let's get out of that. I'm going to deploy my landing gear. Let's see if I can't land this sucker in a field. All right, we're going to come in for a landing here. Let's test our landing gear out. I think my forward landing gear is actually too short, so we'll adjust that when we get back to the hangar. In the meantime, though, 290. Just going to glide down. Great glide properties with these big wings, so I can get really slow flight, which is awesome. It is definitely something you want in a design like this. 60, coming down nicely. I'm going to... Where is my pitch? Pitch control. Nice and soft, nice and soft, nice and soft. Nice and soft. Beautiful. Crank the brakes up. Hey, okay. That is progress if I've ever seen it. And actually the wheels look pretty balanced, like that. That is progress if I've ever seen it. Okay, I think at this point we can say that this SSTO is fully functional. We've got everything we need. We've got every individual component we need to make this guy work. Thank you guys so much for watching as I work through these engineering challenges. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. I'm going to be actually releasing this to the SimpleRockets website, so if you guys want to download it, I'll have a link posted here pretty soon, and you'll get everything you see here. You'll get the Space Telescope payload. You'll get the landing gear. That's always important. You want landing gear on your rockets, I've found. You'll get the launch platform here, all-inclusive. This is a modded version of the game, so you will have to be a PC player to actually play, unfortunately. But hey, if you are interested in downloading it, there will be a version available for you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for the live stream. Glad you guys were able to make it, and I hope you have a great night and a great rest of your week. I will be live streaming again this Sunday most likely, so please tune in to catch me there. And I will see all of you in the next video, and hope you guys really do have a great one. Take care.